This is the best of Chad Benson.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I was telling the guys over the weekend I watched Wizard of Oz. Still an amazing movie. Like, this is awesome. And the colors just pops, and it's just... And then you go and you ever go like Wikipedia, like, what would it cost to make? It costs like $2 million to make. And it took them like 15, 20 years to make $1 on the movie. Because when it first came out, it was like... Critics thought it was pretty good. The crowds weren't really into it. But then they re-released it like 10, 15 years later, and it just exploded, and then it ended up making money. But, I mean, I don't even know what that movie would cost today to make. But now we're looking at movies that cost, $250, $300 million. I mean, you look at they're talking about Avatar, filming 2 and 3 at the same time. It's going to be near $1 billion. It's insane. But you go look at those old days, man. It's like $1 million for Cleopatra. What? That's nuts. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love hearing, from each and every one of you. Love and hate. It was good this weekend not to fight with people. It was one of the things I enjoyed. Is like, and I don't like fighting. We can spar. We can have differing opinions. Sometimes people, they allow their emotions to just go overboard. And they're like, and they start saying things. And because there's no real, repercussions on social media. There's just none. So you can yell and fight it and scream. It's like, I've never met you and I never will, but I hate you. You're like, what? Okay, that's weird. That is what it is. But over the weekend, some stuff did happen. London. Terror attack.
New details surrounding the brave bystanders who helped take down a terrorist in London. Video showing heroes fighting back, one of them even using the tusk of a narwhal whale.
They used fire extinguishers, they used chairs. They were determined that it wasn't going to go on, and they did exactly what they had to do.
Hundreds seen fleeing the area as the incident unfolded on Friday. The attacker, Usman Khan, was eventually killed by police at the scene.
Yeah, I saw somebody over the weekend. Well, several people. Like, why did they have to shoot him? I'm like, well, he had a fake vest on, but they didn't know it was fake because they're assuming somebody who stabbed a bunch of people and wanted to kill a bunch of people probably was willing to blow himself up. So they just put one and one together and bang. That's why. But you're saying to yourself, what the hell's a narwhal? So you don't know what a narwhal is. It's a whale, medium-sized whale, medium-toothed whale, right? Doesn't get real big, 13 to 18 feet, kind of like a beluga whale. Like way bigger than the fish you're going to see at the pond, but not big by whale comparisons. But it doesn't have a dorsal fin, and it's got a giant tusk. And somebody said, oh, look at this here. This guy's doing a bunch of stuff. Luckily, I brought my trusty narwhal tusk. I don't go anywhere without it. And away it went. And, yeah, they did enough to pin him down and to stop it from happening. But it was, once again, another awful thing. And 2 people lost their lives. Later on in the day, at The Hague, in the Netherlands, 3 other people were stabbed in a similar thing. It's an ugly situation. It is an ugly, ugly situation. And then the question is, who in God's name thought this was a good idea to allow somebody like this out halfway through his prison sentence? I'm curious.
This is an attack on our community in many ways, and it was intended as such.
Police say Khan had ties with al-Qaeda and had been eligible for early release from prison, serving just half of his 16-year sentence. Prime Minister Boris Johnson now calling the laws that allowed for his early release ridiculous and repulsive.
The practice of automatic early release, where you cut a sentence in half and let really serious violent offenders out early, simply isn't working.
No. And when we look, sometimes something's going to happen. You let a bunch of people out, somebody's going to do something stupid, right? Even Trump, who has gone, and Obama before him, they've allowed people to get out early release, justice reform. People are going to do some things that are stupid. Even though maybe in the past they haven't shown that violence was their thing, they will do something stupid. This guy had shown all of those things. Al-Qaeda, apparently he was interested in ISIS, swore some allegiance, was mad about al-Baghdadi. 2 young people lost their life. Even though he said, well, I just want to do better. Let me out. It'll be great. And just, I'm a better person. And I want to, reprogram and go back into society. That didn't work. There's just sometimes, and you sit around and you say to yourself, okay, what do we do with a person like that? But letting him out early, I don't think was it. And it cost. And people have some serious questions. They have some very, very serious questions. Also, where in God's name do you get a narwhal tusk? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Oh, my goodness me. So, here's the thing with Facebook. Right? They have shown that they have not been above board in so many things. And when you look at him being Mark Zuckerberg, he looks like a weasel. Talks like a weasel, right? He just feels that way. And he and his wife were on CBS, and they're doing this big, they're trying to talk to, because as we go into 2020, you've got YouTube and Twitter and Google, and everybody's saying, well, we're going to get rid of political ads, and we're going to fact check them. We're going to do all that. We're not going to allow certain things. And he's just like, nah, you know what? We're still going to allow people to do what they want to do. But you just listen to him, and you're like, you are Weasley.
The main thing now that people are talking about are the political ads, that you don't want to take down political ads that people know are false, that they contain false information.
What I believe is that in a democracy, it's really important that people can see for themselves what politicians are saying so that they can make their own judgments. And, I don't think that a private company should be censoring politicians or news.
Right. And he said that on numerous occasions. We shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be doing this. We should not be doing this, right? And I understand that. I get the logic in that. Because if you're going to are you going to fact check everything? Like everything that the person says. We spend the most money for this and our results are that. And you're going to go fact check every single thing that Bernie says, that Elizabeth Warren says, that every single person says, even if they promise you something in the future, or they avoid a certain thing. I mean, are you going to do that? No. I get it. And remember, we're guilty of spreading fake news all day. We as human beings, right? We see something we like. We're like, oh, I like that. It agrees with me, and I like that. So I'm going to share it because if I believe it to be true, then it's got to be true. So people share it all day long. Meme, this, that, and the other. And that's crazy. You know that. But people they want affirmation. They want information. And they're not going to spend the next 3, 4, 5 minutes to go look for something because what you're doing is you're challenging your own beliefs, and we don't want to challenge. We want to think we're right, right? Everybody else is wrong. We're right.
But a small group of your employees, about 200, wrote a letter saying that they wish that you would reconsider because they said free speech and paid speech are not the same. Do they have a point?
Well, this is clearly a very complex issue, and a lot of people have a lot of different opinions. At the end of the day, I just think that in a democracy, people should be able to see for themselves what politicians are saying.
Even if the ads are containing false information. I
think that people should be able to judge for themselves the character of politicians.
Yeah, well, we'd all like to think that you should be able to judge for yourself the characters of politicians. We all should. He just sounds weaselly. That's just it. And it's the look, right? Like Google, most people don't know who Sergey Brin is and like who owns, YouTube and what about Twitter and all. Like most people, they don't know what all this. And on top of that, he hangs out at the White House. And these are the questions. When you hear his answers, he just feels like you're hiding something.
You were in D.C. recently. It was reported later that you had dinner with the president of the White House. What was the nature of the meeting? Can you say?
Sure. I mean, we talked about a number of things that were on his mind and some of the topics that you'd read about in the news around our work.
The dinner was not disclosed by the White House and only became public after the fact through news reports. It came as President Trump was openly discouraging Facebook from banning political ads. Listen, people would say the optics weren't good.
Yeah, you think? But it starts to get really weird when you listen to him here trying to explain away some of this. It just sounds, again, it's the optics and even the sounds when he's trying to deliver something. I mean, he's not been great on the Hill when he's gone up there, and he won't sit there under oath because he doesn't want to, because he knows they're looking for a gotcha moment. They're coming for him hardcore. He's got tons and tons and tons of lawsuits, antitrust suits. The government and governments around the world are coming for him, but he just feels very weaselly.
Did he try to lobby you in any way?
No. I mean, I don't think that's... I think some of the stuff that people talk about or think gets discussed in these discussions are not really how that works. I also want to respect that it was a private dinner, right, and it's a private discussion.
Just feels very Weasley. Now, you go from there to the other side, where, YouTube is doing all they can to stop things from happening and be transparent-ish.
President Trump has been advertising a lot on YouTube lately. Have you taken down any of President Trump's ads at all?
There are ads of President Trump that were not approved to run on Google or YouTube.
Do you have an example?
Well, they're available in our transparency report.
Kind of. Google keeps an archive of political ads, and we looked at President Trump's ads. Over 300 videos were taken down, mostly over the summer. But the archive doesn't detail what rules they violated. There's no transparency in the transparency report. The ads typically did run for a few days before they were taken down, and Google got paid for them.
Yeah, of course. Right? Well, they say we're watching how many hours? 1 billion hours a day or something like that of YouTube and all of this stuff. I mean, it's crazy. You're not going to be able to monitor everything. And Trump is spending huge amounts of money. Remember, his war chest is massive. The machine is massive. And they've got money to spend. Big time money to spend. And they're going to spend it everywhere. And where Trump got his bang for his buck wasn't on TV. It was Twitter and it was the internet. Because they're going to deliver to you the thing that you want to hear in such a way that you're going to oh my God, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. He's my guy or she's my gal. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love hearing from you. Please, you can check out the chadshow.com. You know what we've got going on there? Stuff. And you can get your podcast there as well. And on this Black Friday, we offer a free podcast. We also offer it on regular days as well. Just want to let you guys know that. Christmas time. It's Christmas time. And you want to hear the best audio sound around. And you're looking around and you're going, hey, they got a great deal over here on these earbuds, or check out these headphones and blah, 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 blah. Put those down, save yourself huge money, and get the best sound around, and that is Raycon. Raycon's just released their E25's best model yet. 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and nice comfort, noise isolating fit. So whether you're out running around, or maybe just making a phone call, you're going to know this difference. And again, the quality is amazing, and the price is right. The price is absolutely amazing. Comparatively to what you'd pay for a lot of these other ones. No stems, no wires. And Ray J's put this together in a way that you are absolutely going to love. The comfort, the style, it's discreet, and the sound qualities. Mwah! Get yours now. Save big, especially for this holiday season. You're going to save yourself 15% off right now. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. 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 Chad Benson Show.
You're listening to the best of Chad Benson.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
If anyone can save Arendelle, it's you.
It's a Thanksgiving holiday earnings record for Disney's Frozen 2. Another $126.3 million starting with Wednesday night. That keeps it in first place for week 2 and beats the previous $109.9 million Thanksgiving earnings record set by 2013's The Hunger Games: Catching Fire.
I suspect Foul play.
The dark comedy whodunit Knives Out exceeded expectations with a second place $41.7 million holiday opening.
Crushing it is Frozen. It'll make it to $1 billion by the end of the month. I think that's the 7th one this year for Disney. Then they've got a huge release coming of their new Star Wars movie. And the Mouse House was cool enough to do something. And Mickey, you did solid. I try. I care. Worldwide, globally, I care. I know you did. And they came to us. I went to Bob Iger, for those of you who don't know. I said, Bob, we need to do this for a fan. He's like, but Mickey, nobody's seen the movie. I don't care. It's my house, my rules.
No one's ever really gone.
A dying Star Wars fan got his wish, a special screening of the upcoming Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Almost no one's seen the movie yet. It's not in theaters until December 20th. But Rowan's Hospice in Hampshire, England took to social media saying one of their patients probably won't make it until it's out, and all he wanted was to be able to watch the last movie in the 9-part series with his young son. Disney made it happen, screening the film Thursday, and in a statement, the patient, who wants to remain anonymous, thanked everyone involved for creating wonderful memories for his family during a horrible situation.
You're welcome. That kid is going to remember that forever. Spending time with his father, knowing that his father is not going to be here, and to see something like that is just awesome. It is. Solid. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Don't bet.
A 3-team parlay that included an Arizona Cardinals game led the NFL in part to suspend Cardinals defensive back Josh Shaw for violating the league's gambling policy. That's what sources tell ABC News partner ESPN, adding that Shaw made the bet Sunday, November 10th at a Caesars sportsbook in Las Vegas, and that shortly after, Caesars notified Nevada gaming officials and the NFL. Sources say when Shaw filled out his application for the betting account, he wrote professional football player as his occupation.
Idiot. Now he's suspended. He probably will never play again. He hadn't played this year, but it is just God, people are so stupid. They are. They're just so stupid. Hey, I'm gonna write that. I play for the Cardinals. Which normally you might think, oh, this guy's, do we really believe this? Like somebody says that? Like if you go up there and say, oh yeah, I'm in UB40, people are like, oh, he's in UB. But obviously somebody said, I don't think this guy should be doing this. And that's what happens. What an idiot.
The Chad Benson Show.
This is the best of Chad Benson.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I don't believe they are driven by facts. I don't believe they are driven by evidence. They are driven by a partisan anger directed ultimately at the American people for voting to elect Donald Trump.
Ted Cruz. That'll be interesting because Cruz is smart. You could have put him up there yesterday if you wanted to talk about constitutional law. You go back and you listen to his professors at Harvard talk about, like, he came in and by the second year he knew, his understanding of the Constitution and law was just incredible. But I think there's a little bit of truth to that. Do I think that some of them think they're doing right? Yeah, because I think some of them think this guy's just an evil person. He's a bad human being. He's a bad person. I can't stand him. He's awful. And I think some of them genuinely think that this person's just bad for America. The way they're going about doing things, well, Trump has allowed opportunities for him to be looked at in ways. He's, whether you like it or not, he has said and done some things and associated himself with some people that have given people opportunities to come and ask certain questions. Does it mean he's guilty? No. Does it mean it rises to the level of removal? No. But some of this is self-inflicted for sure.
Using impeachment to express your political differences with the president is an abuse of the Constitution.
Yeah. And think about this. you know what's going to happen. They're going to bring in a lot of people, the likes of Hunter Biden probably, Adam Schiff, who's going to have to answer some serious questions that I'm sure he's not going to be thrilled about answering. And they're going to open up some stuff that is, even if people were on the fence and leaning towards maybe Trump, what ends up happening is you break it to the point where it's, wait a minute here, now you've done some stuff, and maybe he did do some stuff, but now you've done some stuff. And while I may have been on the fence, now I feel completely uncomfortable with what you've done over here, and that's their end game. That's what I think their defense is going to be. Look, it's going to be tough for us to defend some of this stuff. It is. But in saying that, we can go after them and hard charge them to the point where they're going to have trouble defending some of their actions. So we'll see. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Hollywood, a little bit biased.
Gender discrimination in Hollywood.
Women have less screen time.
Actors agree. There's a problem. Good. They're really working on diversity. Except there's one kind of diversity they never talk about. Diversity of thought. In Hollywood, it seems you have to think a certain way. You must sneer at capitalism. In all these movies, capitalism is evil. In this one, greedy miners destroy a planet to get these rocks.
This is why we're here. Because this little gray rock sells for $20 million a kilo.
Yeah. It's hilarious. It is. And there is bias in Hollywood. Like right now, you've got a movie coming out about Fox, right? So think about all the movies we've seen over the last umpteen years in Hollywood. Right? Yeah, you've seen a lot, right? You've seen a lot. And when it comes to politics and everything else, whether it's television or movies, it skews absolutely to the left. As if there is nobody else. So you got Bombshell coming out, which is about Fox and what went on there. And you know what? It's very interesting. And I got zero problems telling the story. But then I also say, well, what about the story of CBS and NBC and the problems they have? You'll never have that because politically, and think about this, Roger Ailes, used and abused his power and his opportunity to be a star maker to get a little something, right? Bill O'Reilly, yeah. Definitely a boys club, absolutely. Look at the other places as well. But they won't tell that story. And that's the frustrating thing. When they tell certain stories, it's always about one side of the aisle being evil and bad and the other side being moralistically upstanding.
Movie makers are so hostile to capitalism, they butcher basic fact. In Amazon's just released season 2 of Jack Ryan, the hero asks this about Venezuela.
Why is this country in the midst of one of the greatest humanitarian crises in history?
Socialism? No, the show's answer is nationalism.
After rising to power on a wave of nationalist pride, this guy has crippled the national economy.
Nationalist pride. No mention of socialism.
Yeah, none. Nationalist pride. That's what it is. So it's nationalism. Because we're not going to make fun of socialism because there are people running it. Really? You're not going to be honest about it? No, not going to do it. It's crazy. But we've always known that, right? And Michael Jordan said, I don't get into politics because Republicans buy sneakers too. Oh, yeah, I forget about that. Look at Peloton right now, what they're going through. They lost $1 billion of market cap. So they lost $962 million in their drop the other day because of an ad that people thought was politically incorrect because a guy gave a bike to his wife who was already fit as if to say it's a patriarchy and you better look good. It's not like he gave her a blender. Here's a blender. Here's a mop. There's the kitchen. On your way in, grab an apron. Maybe the backstory was, and I love the fact that Peloton's come out and said, we defend it. We're fine with this. We defend. We're totally fine with this. But the rabble rousers and the screamers and the yellers, it's nuts. And I think it's hilarious. Here's the backstory he could have given, right? Maybe she wanted one. Oh, yeah, maybe she did. It's always a possibility. Maybe she did want one. Maybe she did want one. Oh, my God, yeah, that could have been it. Or maybe he's just an evil man.
They have their hate, right? They're the ones who say, we need to be tolerant, we need to have love, and all this kind of stuff. They're the most anti-tolerant people and hateful people that we have right now.
So much so that even the liberal media has noticed the bias.
Just the last 10 years, it's just exploded.
Are you even more ruthless than you used to be?
Every movie I've ever seen now, every TV show I seem to see, doesn't matter what it is, there's always some point, some place where they'll pretty much degrade anybody who's conservative or Republican.
Yeah, very much so. 100%. They will. And it's sad because, again, we're in this together. Nothing wrong with that, right? Like here's the thing. You can do both. You can do both. That's why I go back and I listen because Carson has right now there's a limited time on like Sirius and XM and stuff, and I'll be flipping around on my long drives in the middle of godforsaken nowhere because I go to see Jack. And Carson hammers everybody. Doesn't play favorites because he thought everybody was like, it's almost like only this side can be made fun of. They're the only ones who have any failings or goofiness or misgivings. You're the only one. Yeah.
Directors now shove women into what had been male parts, and that even superhero movies push the politically correct message.
The women are always saving the men around here. You might want to think about changing the name to X-Women.
It was created as X-Men, and they had female characters in there, but that was a title. Now, we're in this business now of rewriting everything. We want to rewrite history. It's not even politically correct. It's politically insane.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Totally. I mean, think about this. Like, okay, we got to have one of these. We have to have her, and then this person, and now Thor's going to be a woman, and over here, Batman's going to be. We decided to get rid of Batman altogether, and if we have Batgirl, she's got to be a lesbian, and you're just like, oh wow, which is like, look, knock yourself out. Go ahead. And I know it's about Thor's hammer. You just sit back sometimes. And you think we're trying so hard. We are, and this right here. It's crazy.
The recent movie about the first trip to the moon leaves out the planting of the American flag.
Why would the movie makers leave the flag raising out of the movie?
This was widely regarded in the end as a human achievement.
This is a human achievement.
It was a human achievement, American human achievement. Ryan's Canadian.
Why they want to sell movies in China and other places? Why shove the American flag in?
I just think it's childish. I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It was a human achievement. Okay. All right. But stop looking for them. And I think some of them get it. Some of them get it. But they're not going to change. I mean, even people who are uber left face the wrath. Right now, you've got a what? You've got this great supposed movie, right? That is taking Netflix by storm. The Irishman, it's winning awards, it's doing all of these things, but there wasn't enough. I think the woman who speaks them has like 6 lines. Is it Anna Paquin or something like that? It says like 6 lines in it, or Bella Thorne, one of those. They only have like 6 lines, and people are like, why aren't there more women? Like, why couldn't a woman play Jimmy Hoffa? Because you've allowed yourself, much like Nancy's allowed them to paint her into a corner with all of this stuff, you're doing that now. Now you're at the point where you've gone after everybody else, so the only thing you can do is turn on yourself. Oh, yeah. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Speaking of Hollywood and stuff like that, what about music, right? What about Raycons? I love my Raycons. I do. They're amazing. I tell everybody, because the lady up front, she had some of the other ones in her ears earlier. I'm like, you should get Raycons. She goes, these things are awful and they're so uncomfortable, and they have the little stem. And I'm like, yeah, because they're built as an add-on. They're not built as a situation where you're super excited to have one of those things. No, they're built as an add-on. I say, get Raycon. She goes, oh my God, it's great. They're just amazing. E25s have tons of talk time, right? You get 6 hours, seamless Bluetooth pairing. So right there, it pairs up really quick. And just, I'm telling you guys, you get these things, you see, wow, stylish and comfortable. Like, Ray J knew what he was doing, and people like Snoop Dogg can't, when it comes to music, they kind of get what they're talking about. When it comes to sound, they understand what they're talking about. Cardi B, yeah. But think about this, like all the other people that he went to are people that, inside the music industry, that are sound people. And they're like, this is great. Now's your chance. They cost a quarter of what everything else costs. You got all kinds of different colors and styles to choose from. There's no stems. There's none of that stuff. And yes, kids, yes, you're going to save even more. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad now. Perfect. Just in time for Christmas. What are you going to save? 15% on your order. That's buyraycon.com/Chad. The best earbuds around. Don't settle for anything less. buyraycon.com/Chad. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. It's the Chad Benson Show.
You're listening to the best of Chad Benson.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
A large study, 46,000 women with a family history of breast cancer who used permanent hair dyes or straighteners were found overall to have a 9% increased associated risk of breast cancer. When they looked at it by race, 45% increased risk for African American women overall. And if those women were frequent users of hair dye, that risk went up to 60%.
Now, here's the thing. Hair dye will be the new Roundup. So remember Roundup, right? You remember what happened. Now everybody who's ever had cancer in their life that happened to spray weeds at one point in time who got cancer may be entitled to a massive payday. Now anybody who's ever dyed their hair and potentially had a family history of cancer and then got cancer but dyed their hair at one point in time and maybe on a few occasions, all you need is one sympathetic jury to look over and say, we think the chemicals in there are bad and you deserve $790 billion. And the next thing you know at night, boom, baby powder. Talcum. Did you ever use talcum powder? I'm like, yeah, well, you're probably in line for a giant payday. Wait, what? Is that? I get it. Like, we're learning more and more about these chemicals, right? We want to do well for our bodies, for the environment. We're learning more and more about them, and we should, and that's a good thing, right? But I'll tell you what, I start looking at this thing, and I start thinking to myself, my God, what else, right? Between the mesh net thing and talcum powder, and did you ever use Roundup, or now it's hair dye? You have to ask yourself, like, and what kind of cancer? We're talking about breast cancer? So hair dye gave you breast cancer. What if a guy dyes his hair and he got breast cancer, which is, by the way, very deadly for men because most of the time men find out they have breast cancer, it's too late. Or prostate cancer. Did you once dye your hair, man? Well, you could have prostate cancer. And it's just, and you need the jury. That's why juries, there's a reason they have experts whose only job is to find the right jurors. You won't see them after that. You ever watch that show, Bull? There's a lot of those guys and gals. They come in and their whole thing is psychologically looking at a lot of different things because they want the right men and women on a jury that they're looking for, that they think could give them what they want. And this is something else. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love hearing from you. Jobs report tomorrow. That'd be interesting. But let me tell you this. Because the holidays, no matter what, if it's 160,000, in a month or 400,000, go backwards, forwards. Last month we revised all these things. It's just amazing how tight the market is right now. But students are out there looking, and they're coming out of college, and these are the top most regretted college majors, according to a new survey. And it's very interesting, some of these things. You're looking around, you're going, ooh, wow. So here we go. According to a new survey, CNBC here, top 10 most regretted college majors. Agriculture. Why? Economic vulnerability. More agriculture and natural resource degree. Again, limited job opportunities and mobility. Philosophy, skills not valid in the workplace. 24% say they regret it. Visual and performing arts, stressful industry, limited job opportunities. Ethnic area and multi studies, right? Impact, very limited. Small job opportunities. Communications, too general. Social science and law, too general and practical. Hard to find job without further studies. Education, low pay, job satisfaction. Science, hard to find a job without what? More studying and license. But number one is English and foreign language. In practical and limited job opportunities, 42% who get that degree regret that. And how many people right now listening have a degree in something and you're nowhere near working in that thing you have a degree in? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Chad Benson Show.
You're listening to the best of Chad Benson.
This is the Chad Benson Show.
This is the best of Chad Benson.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
What's up? Hope you had a good weekend. It is our final show of the year. We're super excited about it. Wrapping up a lot of stuff to talk about. Heading into 2020, looking back at 2019, talking about the decade that was. It's crazy, right? Like, we've just marched through a decade. Over the weekend, I talked to, I don't know how many people that were absolutely like, it's been that long? I mean, do you remember Y2K? Like, Y2K seems like it was like a few years ago. Like, the whole world's coming to an end. Y2K's here. Next thing you know, you're never going to be able to get in, access your bank account. Stuff's going to go offline. Things are going to explode. Oh, God, we're not going to survive. Here we are, those many years later. 2 decades have now passed in this century. Soak that up. 20% of this century is gone. And it's better than it's ever been. Despite all the insanity, despite all the craziness, it is better than it's ever been. It's continuing to get better and better and better. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Let's have a little bit of fun. Chucky, baby.
Michael Duffy, a top Trump administration official, sent an email ordering that the military assistance be withheld 91 minutes after, and that order be hush-hush, that no one know about it.
Hush-hush. 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 Yeah, it's not. They're now out of town, enjoying their vacations, and going out there and doing what they do, which is trying to sell everything to the American people, right? And they've got to keep this alive because we've got a very short attention span in this country. So now there's an email out there that hour and a half after the phone call that this is just going to change everything.
This email is explosive. A top administration official, one that we requested, is saying, stop the aid 91 minutes after Trump called Zelensky and said, keep it hush-hush.
Hush-hush. Doesn't matter. Again, who's paying attention? You got to sell this to the American people, and you ask yourself, is anybody paying attention? No. Last week, they had a debate. How many people? 6.17 million viewers tuned in. Right? Think about that for a second. 6.17 million viewers. compared to what? Hillary and Trump, 84 million. Now, granted, we'll have bigger viewership when it's down to the final two. Probably even when it's down to the final three on the Democratic side, but the final two. But that just shows you right there how insane. Like, we think all this stuff is out there, and it's like, oh my God, this. It's not. It's not out there for the way that people think. It's not out there. It's just not. In fact, there's a great article in Market Watch talking about bias, but also pointing out the insanity of what we think's really going on. We have 328 million people in this country, and only 1.3 to 2.4% of Americans tuned in to any of the stuff that was going on Capitol Hill. And at best, during the day, for any of these stations, about 7.8 million viewers will tune in combined to the biggest shows at MSNBC, Fox, and CNN combined. So that means about, 99% of America is doing other things. And I think we need to keep that in perspective. That in this day and age, man, there's so many awesome things that are going on. Like, we're living in the best time in the history of time, in the best time in the history forever, in the best time of forever and ever and ever. And too often we forget about that, right? We think that, oh my God, it's got to be the worst time in history. It's everything. No, it's the best time. We've never lived in a better time. We're living in the best time forever. The only thing that bothers us is the insanity of political correctness and the fighting and the media and the bias, this, that, and the other. But the reality is, man, life, we're living longer. Things are better. Technology's amazing. We're cracking things we never once thought we'd be able to crack. It is amazing. We're almost having to go out there and manufacture insanity just for us to sit there and argue over stuff. This past decade was the best decade ever. Not just a little decade, like the best decade ever. Safer. Absolutely. Less wars than ever before. You would know that, right? But yeah, absolutely. Poverty. We've eradicated extreme poverty to its lowest level in the history of mankind. Right? We're doing things, whether people want to believe it or not, to fight climate change, to do a lot of different things out there that we've never thought we would do. But there's no win in that. So let's celebrate it. Let's have fun. Let's deal with the craziness that's out there and have a laugh with it. But, man, I tell you what, I sit here and laugh at all this stuff when I see people talk about, like I said last week, they're all on stage talking about how horrible life is and how bad everything is and how this is going to blow up. And I'm sitting there laughing my ass off going, anything but. We're living an amazing time. Incredible time. Safer than we've ever been. Right? That's why when something big happens and our bubble gets burst, we freak out. Oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God. Why? Because we live in this bubble of safety. And because of that, every time something happens, it feels like it's always happening, when really it's not. It's really not. It isn't. But there's no money in good. There's no money in any of that stuff. You go on and you run a news organization today, and you have just a day of good news and happiness. People get bored with it because we like the drama of it all. So that's why it's all of the stuff that's out there that's like, oh, this is super dramatic and it absolutely matters. And they'll go out there and talk about, oh, this is it. I mean, he's going to be a dictator. He's not going to be a dictator. God, bunch of idiots. He's not Yahweh, and he's not going to be a dictator. None of those things. He's Donald Trump, right? Nancy's not the devil. She's just a woman who likes power and money and enjoys the position just like all of them do. It's hilarious, though, isn't it? Over the weekend, I don't know how many people came up to me at church and talking and, oh, my God, what do you think about this? And he's going to go. He's got to go, right? This is like the biggest. I mean, you guys aren't even, everybody calm down. Do you think I had somebody ask me this week, do you think he's going to leave the office? I said, well, I think either when he's voted out or he basically times himself out where he's only got 5 more years. Dan, you don't think he's going to try to take over the Army and the military and stay? I'm like, no. No, I don't think that. Some people feel that way. They do. It's nutty. It is what it is, though. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. We do have some good stories. We love good stories.
Thousands in L.A. County with medical debt will have some outstanding medical bills paid as a gift from the Christian Assembly Church in Eagle Rock.
There's 5,555 people that will benefit from this, and they'll all be receiving letters in the mail this week.
Pastor Tom Hughes.
We're excited to share this gift of generosity because of the generosity of our God.
The pastor says the congregation has collected enough money to wipe out over $5 million of medical debt for low-income patients in 28 communities.
That's pretty awesome. There's a good story right there. We need more of that. I like that. We do. We need more of that. To remind everybody that while everybody else is running around, hair on fire, craziness, lunacy, the reality is so much better, and how many people are actually paying attention the way that the people in D.C. and everywhere else think we're paying attention. You know what I did this weekend? Celebrated my birthday, hung out with my family, played with my lizards, relaxed a little bit, watched some football, didn't think about politics, didn't watch any of the political shows, any of that stuff. Why? It's time to rest, time to relax, time to enjoy the family, even though we're probably going to fight with them over all kinds of stuff. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Speaking of good stories, Wounded Paw Project has so many amazing stories, and they're looking to make more. Holidays are here. Many people are struggling, including our heroes, our veterans, our first responders, and their family. They're coming home and they're suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome and all kinds of other ailments, including physical and mental ailments, as well as our first responders and their families. And that's where Wounded Paw Project comes in. They're incredible. What they do is they rescue animals. They get identified in shelters and take them from shelter dogs to service dogs. It's absolutely amazing. And their mission, as they say, is very simple. We connect our furry best friends with our nation's heroes. Their motto is to save a paw is to save a life, but it's not cheap or easy. That's why you can help, and it's simple. You can give through the gift of a vehicle. Donating's easy. Proceeds are used to protect, advocate, and transform shelter dogs into service dogs for the veterans, for the first responders and their family. If you want to give, which I know you want to do, it's simple. Call 844-678-4PAW. That's 844-678-4729. Or visit woundedpawproject.org. That's woundedpawproject.org. They also take cash, and you get a great tax-deductible gift. woundedpawproject.org. Chad Benson Show.
You're listening to the best of Chad Benson.
The Chad Benson Show, where the sensible center hangs out. Hey, you. That doesn't mean you can put your feet up on the table.
You're despicable.
This is Chad Benson.
The country's really getting hit on the edges. 2 separate storms on 2 separate coasts expected to bring heavy wind and rain to some major travel hubs. We're talking about places like San Francisco and L.A. will feel parts of that looking at to Monday. And then you go down to Miami. They'll get heavy wind and rain there as well, stretching up to holiday travelers as far north as Atlanta.
Yeah, it is nasty traveling out there. Be careful. No matter what you're doing, I'm staying in town, then I'm going to go pick up Jack afterwards, but we're going to experience some rain. We got some rain coming here to Phoenix tomorrow. What? Yeah, through the weekend, so, which is great, but again, and the flying side of it, because what happens, it's domino effect, right? So if one area of the country gets absolutely slammed, that domino effect of this plane that was supposed to take off here and then connect in Atlanta or connect in, Dallas doesn't do that, then you're going to miss your plane, and it's going to be crazy. And if you are going to travel, make sure you know said rules.
If you can spill it, spray it, spread it, pump it, or pour it, it should go into your check bag.
All right, do that for sure. If you can spill it, spray it, pump it, or pour it, make sure it's in your check-in bag, right?
We recommend that people not wrap gifts. And the reason is because if the gift alarms, if the item alarms is wrapped, somebody's going to have to open it in order to make sure that there's nothing in there that is prohibited.
Yeah. in saying that whistleblower last week came out and says, do you guys know that they're not doing anything, the TSA, that they're just nothing? In fact, maybe making things worse. You're like, really? I don't know about that. Yeah, maybe making things worse. I've always said it's a placebo effect. On that day, there was a perfect storm, and we had let our guard down, thinking to ourselves on 9/11, and every day before it, it can't happen to us, right? Not going to happen to us. And it did happen to us. So what did we do? We panicked. We freaked. We went about doing things where we decided to make ourselves feel better. We're going to create these agencies. We're going to do all of these things. We're going to be extra uber safe. That ship has already sailed. All right. I say it today and I'll say it again. If somebody goes crazy on an airplane now, everybody whoops up on their ass and they tie them down. That's not happening again. Right. Even if somebody had a gun, it's not happening again. People are going to be like, well, there's 150 of us on the plane. You don't have a gun with 150 bullets. So we're not going to let that happen. But underneath still scares me. Because underneath, if anything was to happen, it's the underneath that we don't know about. And that, to me, is the scarier thing. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Over the weekend, he made a triumphant return to Saturday Night Live.
It's your old pal, Mr. Robinson. So much has changed since we last spent some time together. My neighborhood has gone through so much. It's gone through something called gentrification. Can you say gentrification, boys and girls? It's like a magic trick. White people pay a lot of money, and then poof, all the black people are gone. But where do they go, boys and girls? Back to where they come from, of course. Atlanta.
He was actually pretty good, but Phil and I were talking about it, and he said, I've never seen, I was like, he's in every skit. Phil's like, yeah, he was in every skit. He was. I've never seen a host in as many skits as he was. He was in all the skits. He showed up, but also he was very much for my generation, all right? Because, the Gen X generation, because nobody really knows who Buckwheat is or Gumby, right? They don't understand that. Mr. Robinson's take on Mr. Rogers, which they may get, but they don't understand who that was. But this was a lot about bearing the hatch and the fact that right now he's hot. I think he's going to get an Academy Award nomination for My Name is Dolomite. And he's just finished doing Beverly Hills Cops, Coming to America 2. And he's got a lot of stuff he's done, but it was interesting. It definitely enjoyed some of those things. But yeah, it wasn't like if you were 15 or 18 and you watched that show, right? You're like, I have no idea who Buckwheat is, right? I have no idea who Gumby is, right? We think, no, nobody's watching Gumby, right? Nobody's watching Gumby. Nobody's watching any of those. So, but it was funny to see him back in that. I thought that was his best bit. The gentrification thing was so perfect. And the neighbors came over and accused him of stealing it's like a 75-inch TV. And he says, what, because I'm black? And they fled. And they're like, no, we're sorry. He goes, that works every time Julian turns around, he turns the TV on. It was awesome. And the 23andMe thing, if you guys haven't seen it, check it out. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. 2019 is behind us. What do we have looking forward here in 2020? We have a huge race, but we have a lot of other things that could potentially be happening. We'll be looking forward to that backwards. So many good things. Text the program. Check out the Instagram as well. This is the Chad Benson Show.
You're listening to the best of Chad Benson.
The Chad Benson Show.
This is the best of Chad Benson.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah. It's in the Festivus today. What was the thing they used to do, Phil? That you went to the unaired grievances or whatever it was?
The airing of grievances.
The airing of grievances at the poll. So whatever you worship, whatever you subscribe to, whatever you do or don't like, good for you. Fantastic. Now let's have a little fun with Trump and windmills.
I never understood wind, and I know windmills very much. I've studied it better than anybody. I know it's very expensive. They're made in China and Germany mostly, but they're manufactured. Tremendous fumes, gases are spewing into the atmosphere. You know, we have a world, right? So the world is tiny compared to the universe. So tremendous amount of fumes and everything. Talk about the carbon footprint spewing. Whether it's in China, Germany, it's going into the air. It's our air, their air, everything. Right?
I know windmills better than anybody. I'm Dutch, build a lot of windmills. I do it, can't help it. I have people say, hey, there goes Donald Trump, the greatest windmill maker of all time. Yeah, pretty much. Made Pinocchio. You guys ever heard of him? I understand him more than anybody else because, well, I built him and I have magic. He's not done.
They're noisy. They kill the birds. You want to see a bird graveyard? You just go. Take a look. A bird graveyard? Go under a windmill someday. You'll see more birds than you've ever seen ever in your life. You know, in California, they were killing the bald eagle. If you shoot a bald eagle, they want to put you in jail for 10 years. A windmill will kill many bald eagles. It's true. And you know what? After a certain number, they make you turn the windmill off. That's true, by the way.
Yeah, they have killed birds in the past. Yeah, they've killed birds. That's very true. I don't know if it's a bird graveyard, but they have killed birds in the past. It's just so hilarious. It's like, let me tell you, I know more about windmills. That's the thing that makes me laugh. You know more about, yes, I know more about windmills. In the history of windmills, there's never been anybody ever that's even come close to knowing more about windmills than him. Ever. He wrote the book on windmills. Call him Windmill Willie. People bite. Oh, really? Did you guys know he was an expert? Oh, my God, he's an expert. He's not an expert. He's not an expert on windmills. Like everything else, it has its advantages and disadvantages. If we're going to get to where we want to get when it comes to certain parts of our environment and what we're trying to do, nuclear's got to be a part of it. I don't know if we're going to get there. But the reality is if we want to get there, we're going to have to talk about nuclear. Then everybody freaks out about that. And then you're like, well, then you guys move on with yourself because you're not being serious about it, right? There's no magic, pixie fairy dust. There's none of that stuff. Nuclear is real. A real way of doing things. Solar's great, but what happens on certain days, and we're not catching the energy the way that people want. Nuclear is one of those things where, yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for looking at it. Well, what if it was next door to you? I'm fine with that. Right? Let's do it. Europe does it. Many places. I think France has a ton of miniature nuclear power plants. We can build it better, and the chances of things going absolutely wrong based on today's technology and the way that we build things and the way that we're going to be careful, I think are slim to none. Not saying it can't happen, but at the same time, you look around. And whenever you bring that up, people freak out. No. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Do love hearing from you. The other person that's out and about doing their thing is Bernie Sanders hanging out with the AOC.
I could not be prouder to stand in a movement and be part of a movement that truly has and adheres to core values that are indeed revolutionary.
Yeah. The more I see those two together, and I've even got some progressive friends who are like, you know what? They're older, right? What he is subscribing to as far as what he's trying to push, what he's out there doing scares even them, right? Because it's no longer talk about, I want to change some stuff. They're talking about, the revolution and burning stuff down.
Are we ready for the revolution?
Prince is here? Oh. It'd be great, though, if Prince showed up. But he's got some people behind him. And they want it. They want government to run so much. He's not talking. He says, I want to be like Scandinavia and what they do. They'll tell you, we're a free market society. That's who we are. That's what we do. We just tax people, and the middle class pays for a majority of everything. They rob from each other to pay for each other. He's not talking about that. He wants government to be the end-all to be-all. They want government to be God for a lot of people, and that scares a lot of people. So while he has a core group of people, is it big enough to get him where he thinks it's going to go? I don't think it is, because I think there's many Democrats out there, especially older ones, who don't show up, who remember the Cold War, who say, yeah, we won't become Venezuela, but at the same time, I don't think I want what he's pitching. That's real.
The swing voter that we are most concerned with are the non-voters to voters.
What?
That swing voter is going to win us this election and the general election.
No, they won't. Because it's uncomfortable to them. You're talking about fundamentally changing so many things that built America, and in ways that I think are going to make a lot of people uncomfortable. You demonize a group of people, you victimize a group of other people, and you want to fundamentally burn everything down, and that scares a lot of people. You're talking about free jobs, free health care, free college. You're talking about paying for everything. And even if you took all of the rich people's money, you're still not going to be able to cover it. Then where do you go? Right? Just tell everybody the truth. You guys are going to rob from each other. There's going to be a floor, but there's also going to be a ceiling. Right? That's the reality of it. And it's going to get uncomfortable. And, well, but if you're okay with that. But it's the handing so much over to the government that scares a lot of people. Mostly because, well, it's the government.
Our administration is going to deal not only with political corruption, but with economic inequality.
That's what they're going to do. You guys ready for that?
We are taking on Trump, we're taking on the Republican Party, and we are taking on the Democratic establishment.
That's what they're doing. So be prepared. They're coming. I just think, I was telling the guys last week, he's got kind of like ice hockey is, right? You look at the ice hockey attendance in the arena, and it rivals that, if not beats the NBA pretty much everywhere. You look at ice hockey, though, when it comes to TV ratings, and it's because those 20,000 fans, there may be another 20,000 outside, but that's it, right? The other side of things is there may be 20,000 or 18,000 in the NBA arena, but there's 3 million outside that aren't there, but they're watching it elsewhere, and they'll show up if they have the opportunity. I just don't think he has it in him now. And I think the other thing is, too, he has gone even further left, and I think he's showing who he is. And I think that still scares a lot of those conservative Democrats that are out there, that are union members, that are looking around saying, yeah, no. As bad as Trump is, as far as they're concerned, you feel like you want to nationalize a lot of stuff, and we're going to pass on that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me if you're traveling this weekend. Be safe. I mean, you got to be safe anyways, but you got to take care because you don't want this to happen.
Drivers trapped in the chaos.
A car behind us going 70 miles per hour slammed into us and pushed us into the other vehicles and pinned us.
Drivers and officers standing on the hoods of vehicles on a fully stopped highway. Tow trucks on hand trying to clear the wreck. 50 people were injured in the crash.
Yeah, that was in Virginia. Where was that, Phil? How far was that from you?
I think it was southeast Virginia, I believe. So it wasn't close to where I was.
Yeah, it was nasty. 69 car pileup. Some people really injured, life-threatening. Other people, it was huge. It was massive. You looked at it. It looked like a scene from like a sci-fi or horror disaster movie, right? Cars are all over the place, like they're filming something, and it's like, the day after tomorrow, and people, oh, God, it was nuts. It was crazy. Be careful. That's all you got to say to people. It doesn't matter. But you got just a smidge. Be careful. That's all we're saying out there. All right? We want you to return and enjoy us for the 2020. I'm excited for 2020. This crazy. You heard Bernie, right? You got Elizabeth. You got Pete Buttigieg. You got all of them. They're going to be battling it out. I think sooner rather than later, we're going to get this thing down to about 4, maybe 5. It's going to be interesting to see Bloomberg and what he does, and partly because he's not participating the way that others are, and his focus is really on Super Tuesday. He even came out and said, look, that's what I'm focusing on. It's Super Tuesday. Super Tuesday is it. We're going to go out. We're going to focus on winning enough. He wants to split up the vote and try to win as much as he possibly can so he gets to the point where he shows up at the convention and it's a battle there. I think that's kind of where he's headed, and I wouldn't be surprised if he makes some noise. He's got a ton of money, and at the end of the day, that ton of money is going to buy him opportunities that others aren't going to have. Does that make it wrong? I saw that Jane Lynch came out over the weekend because they were hammering, Pete Buttigieg for having his wine cave meeting or whatever, and she came out and said, so what? Right? Billionaires have just as much the opportunity and chance to have a say in what goes on, right? As she said, billionaires with wine caves has as much a right to say who gets to be president as a waitress in diners and plumbers in my bathroom. Class warfare is ugly. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. And she's right, right? Just because you've been successful and you've made a lot of money doesn't automatically say, well, I can't have a voice because it's going to make other people feel bad. Why? Well, because I shouldn't have a voice in this. That's stupid, right? That's stupid. And that's what you see with somebody like Bernie, who's turning it in to the class warfare, us versus them, kind of like Trump's doing, us versus them. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens, giving you the opportunity to join for free right here. Amazing organization. Working hard for you on things like common sense immigration reform, retail, restaurant, hotel, discount benefits, everything you can imagine. And I can't tell you any easier than this. It's free. It's a free year. Join. Doesn't cost you a thing. Right? Get the welcome kit. Start enjoying the benefits right away. It's simple and easy to join. You go to amac.us/Chad or call 888-355-1617. That's 888-355-1617. It's 1 year. It's free. It's on me. You can enjoy all of the benefits, and they're out there working hard to make sure things like Social Security and Medicare, for example, are solvent and there for you. Simple and easy. amac.us/Chad. 1 year. It's free. It's on me. Chad Benson Show.
You're listening to the best of Chad Benson.
Warning, no snowflake zone. Uninformed opinions are in danger of melting. The Chad Benson Show.
The Force will be with you. Always.
There was never any question that Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker's opening would dominate the box office. Only by how much? It earned at least $179 million over the weekend. That's on the lower end of expectations, but the final chapter of the Skywalker saga still scored the third best December opening ever.
Here we go!
Only $6.5 million for the critically savaged Cats, a third of what was forecast, making it the year's final flop.
Yeah, not just a flop, big flop. In fact, they're redoing the movie because Tom Hooper, who is the director, and he's directed some pretty big movies. The King's Speech was big. The Danish Girl was pretty big. He did Les Mis. And a few other, like HBO, he did Longford and John Adams. I mean, the guy's done some stuff. This was just an absolute, it deserves to be in the litter box, right? Right, it deserves. And if you read some of the reviews, they are absolutely hilarious. Let's read some, shall we? Meow. This has been... Some of these things are so hilarious. Peter Travers, Rolling Stone. The disastrous attempt to bring Andrew Lloyd Webber's hit musical to the screen shouldn't happen to a dog. Alison Wilmore, Vulture. To assess cats as good or bad feels like the entirely wrong axis on which to see it. It is, with all affection, a monstrosity. Oh, my God. Oh, they're just getting started. Cats review from Peter Bradshaw, The Guardian. A perfectly dreadful hairball of woe. Matt Goldberg, The Collider. Cats is a descent into madness. This was great. Jill Gudovitz, L.com. It's a nightmare that won't end. Those are some of the nice ones. Some of this stuff I can't even read. Adam Naiman, The Ringer. Cats is impossible to review. Oh, my God. That's it. Somebody says, oh, my God, my eyes. Ty Burr, The Boston Globe. This has to be the worst one, Phil. You will appreciate that. Cats review from David Sexton, The Evening Standard. Nearly as obscene as the human centipede.
Wait, I like the
human
centipede.
My God. It is just, if you guys don't know what the human centipede is, there was some other ones that are just so, like, you can't even talk about how bad it was. It was so beyond awful. Like, that's the best way to describe it. Beyond awful. Oh, my goodness me. But, yeah, you know what? Star Wars didn't do that much better as far as the reviews. I mean, it took in a ton of money. That was always going to happen, right? But now it's like, this is it. So what do you do from here? I don't know. Where do they break it off from here? Because they're not going to let it die. Because you spent $4 billion on it. And you're making a ton of money. And remember, you're making a ton of money without China. Because China doesn't really get Star Wars. Because Star Wars is a generational thing. And they don't really understand it because they've really been part of modern society, kind of free marketish, if you will, as far as being able to watch some of our stuff and have access to the internet and travel for a decade or so, decade and a half, really. So they don't get this. Marvel, they get. Some of this other stuff, they don't get this. But the fact that it's going to do $1 billion plus is huge. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Did you get your Christmas shopping done? I did. I got a little bit more to do. You ever do like your shopping and you're like, oh, man, or you think somebody's coming over. You're like, I got to get that person somebody. I didn't know that person was coming. Or you got a Christmas card and you're like, I better send a Christmas card. It's crazy still. Trying to figure it all out. Chad Benson Show.
You're listening to the best of Chad Benson.
This is the Chad Benson Show.
This is the best of Chad Benson.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Michael Duffy, a top Trump administration official, sent an email ordering that the military assistance be withheld 91 minutes after, and that order be hush-hush, that no one know about it.
Hush-hush. You know who else is cool? Stephen Tintin Duffy. Remember him? Kiss me with your mouth. Your love is better. You remember that song? It's not that guy, though. That guy's working with the president, and that guy, it doesn't matter. None of it matters. Doesn't matter to you, doesn't matter to me at this point in time. We know where this thing is going. It's a game that's being played. They're going to fight it out. They're at home pitching their constituents. This is why we need to do this. This is why we need to do this. This right here is why we need to do this.
This email is explosive. A top administration official, one that we requested, is saying, stop the aid 91 minutes after Trump called Zelensky and said, keep it hush-hush.
Yeah, again, everybody's made up their mind. Everybody has. They've made up their mind in this day and age. They've all said, you know what? We've heard everything we need to hear. We're not too far away from an election. We're turning the clocks here to 2020 in the calendar. At this point in time, you guys need to just get on with getting on. That's it. Period. Case closed. You want to know how many people are paying attention to this? First of all, only about 6.2 million people watched the last Democratic debate. But in Market Watch, a great article about the bias in media and what goes on in media, but also the numbers of people that pay attention, right? They talk about December 3rd. House Judiciary Committee tasked with drawing up articles of impeachment against the president. You had NATO and what was going on with there. You had those 4 legal scholars and all of that stuff. How many people watched? 4 p.m. Eastern time. 4 p.m. Eastern time. Combined, Neil Cavuto, Jake Tapper, Nicole Wallace, 4.41 million people. 4.41 million. Sean Hannity, Chris Cuomo, Rachel Maddow, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, 7.8 million. Population 328 million, give or take. So about 1 to 2.5% of people actually tuned in. 98 to 99% of people had other things to do and moved away from it. Not that they don't care, but they look at politics and they don't want to get involved. Don't blame them. I think it's a smart thing to do. The reality is we live in a world right now where politics is so crazy and is so just absolutely nasty and negative that people just go, I got better things to do. You guys, tell me when you fixed something. Tell me when you broke something. Tell me some of those things. Outside of all of that, I got other things to do. And at this time of year in particular, I got double things to do. Right? I have Christmas shopping. I have New Year's. I got to lose the weight. I got to do this. I got to do that. The family's in town. Blah, 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 blah. That's what people are looking at. You know what they're not paying attention to? A lot of this crap. And that shows you that they live in this small bubble. And because of this small bubble that they live in, because of this tiny little itty bitty bubble that they live in, they think everybody is just paying attention. That's, oh my God, they're paying attention. They're not. They're not. You're not the rock star you think you are. I always tell everybody, Lindsey Graham goes to a mall. Some people will recognize him. Nobody under the age of 30 probably will. You know what? Ariana Grande goes to the mall. They shut the mall down. Put that in perspective. That's something that I think people need to understand.
So much. They don't love anything constitutional anymore. All the rules have been thrown in a ditch to get Trump, from the way they impeached him to now denying his day in court. Here's how it's going to end. She'll eventually send the articles because public opinion will crush the Democrats.
Yeah, that's what will happen. They're going to crush the Democrats. They're going to be forced to send the articles, and then nothing is going to come out of it but an election next year. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Love hearing from every single one of you. Text the program. This is very interesting. Liberals are more accepting of scientific facts and non-factual statements. What's that mean? So liberals believe more in science, that they're willing to go, I believe that. And at the same time, right? At the same time, they're also willing to believe pretty much anything you tell them. That's, yeah, you could see that. I could see that. I can. Is it trusting? Is that what it is? According to new research, liberal college students tend to be more accepting of both types of statements compared to their conservative counterparts. My interest in a topic, they say, so like the anti-vaxxer movement or the pro-plague movement, whatever you want to call it, right? They'll believe certain things far more. They buy into it. And I think some of it's just because they're trusting. right? They want to believe that what you're telling them is real. And I could see that. In a study of 270 students, they were asked to rate their agreement with a series of scientific facts and non-factual statements. Scientific facts included such as a typical cumulus cloud weighs 1.1 million pounds, while non-factual statements includes the common false beliefs such as humans only use about 10% of their brain. They bought into both of them. I believe in science, absolutely. But I also believe science could, I'm very skeptical about everything because last week I was reading a great story about how Coke has gone out and find a bunch of scientists. And remember, whoever pays you, you can fix something in a scientific study to make sure that it looks like it's real. So, hey, such and such drink's an amazing drink. When you look at it, it's got sugar, it's got all the stuff. It's not good for you. It's not bad to have once in a while. But on a continuous basis, no, it's not a good thing to have. But scientists can find a way to work around stuff, right? So that's the thing. I always say, whether you believe in science or any of these things, you got to do your own research, but always find out who's paying who to find out all of that stuff. But I think liberals are more trusting in those things, so they'll believe it. So just as much as the people on the right get in trouble, quote unquote, on the old interwebs for spreading lies, the reality is both sides are just as guilty. Absolutely. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program. I love hearing from every single one of you. Man, I'm super excited. It's Christmas time. I'll be out doing Christmas stuff. I got most of my shopping done, but not all of my shopping done. It's like, because you think, and we were talking about it earlier. I was talking about with Phil and Anthony. I said, because Anthony brought up, did you guys get any Christmas cards? And I'm like, I got a few, but not a ton. Phil's like, I got 13. I'm like, what? 13? And I think I've got like 4 or 5. But then you start thinking, oh, God, somebody sent you a card, and you got to send them a card, and you feel kind of weird. Next thing you know, you send people cards. Ugh. Frustrating. So, and then you find out like somebody's coming to the house, right? Like, hey, so-and-so, Uncle such-and-such is coming. You're like, oh, God, they're going to get a present, so now we got to go get them a present. That's the way I feel. A lot of people traveling. Be prepared. It could be ugly.
More than 115 million Americans are expected to hit the rails, roads, and sky throughout the holidays. Travelers have been warned to pack their patience. In Sacramento, an internet outage at the airport there impacting 11 outbound planes. The weather creating travel chaos in several parts of the country. In the west, the California coast bracing for torrential rain and high winds, a system that already brought to Seattle one of the wettest days on record. In the southeast, drivers will be dealing with treacherous travel as a storm moving in and packing heavy rain will drench several states.
Yeah, think about this for a second. That it only takes a few planes here and a few planes there to ruin everybody's getting away quick and easy. So you're flying somewhere, and then you're supposed to connect, and you find out, well, your connection didn't get off the ground because of snow or bad rain, or they've been put here. Next thing you know, you're stuck, and you're supposed to arrive at noon, and you make it there at 9 o'clock, and you got to go, instead of flying to Atlanta, you got to fly to Charlotte. It's crazy. So just be prepared, whether you're driving or flying, to take a deep breath and realize it's a pain in the butt, but everybody's trying to get to the same place you are. That's the best you can do at this point in time. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. MyPillow, brand new towels. Amazing, beautiful, awesome towels. Yeah, absolutely incredible. Fluffy, big, super absorbent. They got a luxury feel and look. 5 different designer choices as far as colors go. 30 by 56, so it wraps around you. Nice. Those are the bath towels. 16 by 30 hand towels and washcloths as well. 100% USA cotton. Why is that important? Well, let me tell you something, guys. So many of people, you go get those towels, and they're not really, the cotton's cheap, and they got fillers and cheap softeners. Not this. Best U.S. cotton around, period. And right now, you get a 60-day money-back guarantee and a huge discount. How do you get it? Simple. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the new radio listener special, and get 30% off these amazing towels. How do you do? Enter promo code Benson. Boom! Savings. Right? You're going to need the towel to wash off the savings. It's amazing. MyPillow.com, New radio listener special. 30% off, 60-day money-back guarantee. Enter promo code Benson or call 800-983-4975 for these awesome radio specials. Enter promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
You're listening to the best of Chad Benson.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
Tiny green army men have been in toy chests and under parents' feet for nearly a century. But now they've officially opened their ranks to women. Toy maker Jeff Emmel of BMC Toys in Scranton funded the project with a Kickstarter campaign.
I was worried about criticism from all sides, and it was way less than I ever expected.
He raised more than $55,000 to fund a new line of Green Army women.
Oh, there we go. So you got Green Army women. I didn't even know they were sex. I thought they were little Green Army men. As a kid growing up, because I always had reptiles and stuff, I used to always play Godzilla. And I played Gamera. If you guys remember Gamera, Gamera was a flying turtle that used to shoot fire and lasers, but he also had fire coming out of his arm, and he'd fly. He was awesome, right? So we had a big tortoise in the backyard, and we try to film him stepping on the Green Army people. We were just Army men, but yes, it's now we live in a day and age. Woke, it's good. Let it go. Welcome.
Vivian Lord, the young girl who started it all.
I noticed that there was no girl army men.
No girls.
They don't make them.
And were you disappointed when you found out there weren't any?
Disappointed.
So Vivian wrote a letter asking toy companies across the country to make Army women. Why do you not make girl Army men? My friend's mom is in the Army too. Please, can you make Army girls that look like women, she wrote?
There you go. Put them in combat in the whole 9 yards. That's it. So you got Green Army women.
Emmel's company is now set to release 12 female figurines in October of next year.
So it's very humbling, very exciting, very surreal.
Just in time for Christmas.
I would play with them every day.
Every day.
There you go. So next year we'll have Green Army women. Wokeness. I didn't know that they were sexed. I just thought they were Army people. I never really paid attention. I guess some people do. So some people that totally matters, right? I go back to I don't have the time or energy to be that frustrated and think. I mean, not that it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. It's kind of, it's neat that we have this and we need to be woke or whatever, but it's just I never saw them as anything other than just little itty-bitty 2-inch plastic things that are going to melt in the sun, right? Let's be real, right? How many of them melted? Or their little gun fell off? Or they couldn't stand up? And you're like, oh, this thing doesn't stand up? No, it doesn't. It doesn't stand up. We're trying to get it to stand up, but it doesn't stand up. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can also check out the Instagram as well. Over the weekend, Eddie Murphy came back to SNL, did his thing, but they also cracked wise, if you will, on the Democratic debate, which was awful and hilarious at the same time.
This is the best the Dems could come up with. Pocahontas, Sleepy Joe. I'm just going to riff some new names I came up with. Mayor Butt. Klobuchar. That's good, Klobuchar. Scrooge McDuck, Ben and Jerry's, and Andrew Yang works as is.
Okay.
There are no rules now that I'm impeached. You had it easy with Donald Trump. Delirious. But now you're going to get Donald Trump raw, baby.
Yeah, they hammered all sides, though. They did, and I thought it was pretty good. And Eddie Murphy was great, and of course he came out and hammered Bill Cosby, and Bill Cosby hit back at him today, which I thought was kind of funny because somebody had to tell him. And it's just the weird wackiness of this crazy world that we live in, where we're talking about the likes of Bill Cosby, who's in jail, apparently being told and or watching SNL with Eddie Murphy on it, going after Eddie Murphy. It's nutty. But Eddie, he revived some of his old skits, and I thought he was really funny. He seemed to participate in every single skit that was available to him, which I was surprised with. Man, it's been like 34, 35 years since I think he was on there. That's a long time. It is a long, long time. And when you think about it, right, because I think we have this romantic idea that he was on there for like 100 years, and I don't think he was, right? I don't think he was on SNL for a ton. He was on for like a few years, but he was so big because of that, right? He really came into, and a lot of people said he saved a ton of really their audience that was leaving back in the day. But it was funny. It was actually pretty damn funny. And when he did Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood was quite good. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Love hearing from all of you guys. A lot of Christmas stuff we're going to get to, including the true story of Band-Aid. You guys remember that? You guys remember Band-Aid? Totally different now, Band-Aid, because we joke about it all the time. It's one of our favorite Christmas songs.
You're listening to the best of Chad Benson.
The Chad Benson Show.
This is the best of Chad Benson.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I never understood wind. I know windmills very much. I've studied it better than anybody. I know it's very expensive. They're made in China and Germany mostly, but they're manufactured. Tremendous fumes, gases are spewing into the atmosphere. We have a world, right? So the world is tiny compared to the universe. So tremendous amount of fumes and everything. Talk about the carbon footprint spewing. Whether it's in China, Germany, it's going into the air. It's our air, their air, everything, right?
China. I didn't even know. He's talking to the young conservatives. Like, what are you talking about? First of all, you don't know everything about windmills, right? I'm going to call BS on this one. You guys know this, right? Before me, there wasn't windmills. I don't know what they were called, but there wasn't. But then I came along and I invented windmills because I'm that kind of person, right? So he goes off into this bizarre, how bad they are, and starts talking about how evil windmills are, apparently, because they're also killers.
They're noisy. They kill the birds. You want to see a bird graveyard? You just go. Take a look. A bird graveyard? Go under a windmill someday. You'll see more birds than you've ever seen ever in your life. In California, they were killing the bald eagle. If you shoot a bald eagle, they want to put you in jail for 10 years. A windmill will kill many bald eagles. It's true. And you know what? After a certain number, they make you turn the windmill off. That's true, by the way.
Now, I lived out in Palm Springs for a while in the Coachella Valley, and we have windmills everywhere. Were they loud? You went out there? Yes, they were, but they were out in the middle of nowhere. You passed by them. If you've ever been out there on the 10, maybe you went to Coachella, whatever, you see all the windmills. They were loud at times. Have they had issues with birds? Absolutely. Do I always wonder what they were doing? Yeah, because you see, there's 100 windmills, but only 4 are working. Why? And it's really windy. Well, we turned them on as we needed. And you sit there and you're like, okay, whatever. I'm not going to. But that was classic Trump. You guys, windmills? Let's talk about windmills. Who wants to talk about windmills? I'm going to talk about it. Greatest thing ever in the history of the world? No. I've read more about them than anybody else. I'm like, no, you haven't. Right? No, you haven't. Because even young conservatives are worried about the climate. Right? They may take a different approach, which is always what I tell my friends on the left. If you want to talk to somebody who's, quote-unquote, a climate denier, and you want to get them on your side, if you will, approach it in a different way. But the problem with a lot of people when it comes to climate and stuff, it's like a lot of things in this woke world. You've got to come at it in a way where you're championing with them. So if your thing is, hey, let's fix the climate, and I'm going to make a ton of money at it, no. It's got to be fix the climate because you want to fix the climate, right? It's like you can't just be one of these people that looks at somebody who's trans and say, yeah, you do you. No, you got to champion. You got to be an ally. I don't have to be anything. You do you, whatever you want me to call you. If you want to be called Linda, fine. If you want to be called Larry, fine. No, it's not enough anymore. It's never enough. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. So this is insane, but this is one of the things that we need to talk about for reals. We head into 2020. Here is something that absolutely needs to be addressed. Crazy ass billing when it comes to the world of healthcare. Alexa Kasdan. She had a cold and a sore throat. She had a cold and a sore throat. She visited her primary care physician, a Manhattan Specialty Care, Park Avenue, right? She gave a tube of blood, was sent out the door with prescription for antibiotics. She was going on a trip. She said she felt better. Trip went off without a hitch. Then the bill came in. So she had a sore throat, potentially a cold. The bill was $28,395.50 for an out-of-network throat swab. Her insurance cut a check for almost $26,000. The lab tests were looking at potential bacteria and viruses that could be related to her cough and sore throat. So that's what it was for. She thought it was baloney. She's like, wait, what? I got a check for $25,000 to cover out-of-pocket lab test? Are you kidding me? Right? Like she said, conceivably, these things may make sense for people who are intensive care, case of pneumonia, some of the, but this is insane. She thought it was a joke. She thought it was a joke. Another doctor said, in my 20 years of being a doctor, I've never ordered any of these tests, let alone seen any of my colleagues, students, or other physicians, or anything like this in an outpatient setting. It is crazy. But that's the thing that frustrates so many of us when it comes to healthcare. Right? Case in point, got a coworker here, Lloyd. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, but about 3 months ago, my chest was hurting really bad. I thought I'd done something. I went to the emergency room. I thought, oh, God, am I really sick? And found out I have this virus in my chest that calcifies certain portions of my chest, and sometimes I can aggravate it, and it makes me feel like I'm really feeling, but it's nothing, right? So they did this. He wasn't feeling good about a month ago. He ended up going to the emergency room. Same kind of thing, whole 9 yards. He had an EKG, so did I. Drew a vial of blood, so did I. Mine cost $600. His cost almost $9,000. For what? That's the stuff that is insane. That's what frustrates the hell out of people. They look around and say, are you kidding me? Like, are we being serious right here? You're charging me this much? Yes. That's what people are charging. And a lot of it is what you're willing to pay, right? That's just it. It's what people are willing to pay. The money's big, so they're willing to pay. I'm going to ask for $40,000. If you get $40,000, what are you going to say? No? Well, we negotiate things here. We negotiate things there. We do this. We do that. That's the way it goes. That's the things that freak people out. That's what gets people like Bernie and AOC and everybody else all excited. Like, look at this. I agree. People shouldn't go bankrupt when it comes to healthcare. But when you have stuff like that is crazy, and you're asking yourself, really? For that? Yeah, for that. That's what they're willing to pay. And what they'll do is they'll negotiate it down. They'll pay it, write it off. The hospital and the lab will write off the fact that they wrote it down to $10,000, and they'll write off the other $28,000. So that's $18,000 they'll write off in a loss. Everybody comes out a winner. It costs ridiculous amounts and continues to see our prices go through the roof because of crazy, wacky surprise billing. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't. It's nuts. It's crazy. That's why people get on board with, well, I'd just rather not worry about it. We'll let the government handle it. No. There's better ways of going about doing it. But when you get stuff like this, I understand completely why people get on board. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. You can text the program as well. Love hearing from every single one of you. Remember when the president used to be revered? And I understand that people don't like Trump. I get that totally. But listen to this.
I'd like to see a bag shit right in his face, hit him right in the face like that, and let the picture go all over the world. And that would be the most humiliating thing, because he needs to be humiliated. He needs to be confronted and humiliated.
Yeah, that's Robert De Niro on with Michael Moore. That says everything I need to know about you. I know you didn't like him, but at this point in time, you've lost all respect. And if that's how you feel about the president, and I get that you can't stand him, and you would be totally fine with somebody doing that to our president, yeah, I'll take a pass. Whatever you got selling, I'll take a pass. I wouldn't want that done to any of our presidents, let alone any world leader. But when you're saying stuff like that, that just makes me shake my head and say, what the hell is wrong with you? He's living in your head rent-free. But that's our president. Who I don't like is not my president. He's still your president. Get over it. He is. And if you think that'd be a cool thing to see, you're fooling yourself as well. I would be appalled. Even though he drives me crazy. I'd be mortified. How dare you do that to the president? Because it's take away the president is the office that deserves respect. Who's ever in there. We can argue, we can have differences, we can have fights, but that is vile. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us, AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens. Amazing organization. Right now, they want you to join for free. It's 1 year. It's free. It's on me. What do? Well, first and foremost, that they're fighting for you for causes like immigration reform. How about this? Policies that may hurt you when it comes to Social Security and Medicare. Their decisions, the political leaders out there, they want to make sure that they know, hey, we don't want you making decisions that are going to affect our lives economically in a bad way. We want to make sure that the stuff that we paid into for years is still there and solvent. Top of that, they've got retail, restaurant, hotel discounts, and so much more. And now they're offering you a chance to join for free, which is great. How do you do it? You go to amac.us/Chad. Or call 888-355-1617. That's 888-355-1617. It's absolutely free. It is 1 year. It is on me. amac.us/Chad. AMAC is better for you, better for America. Chad Benson Show.
You're listening to the best of Chad Benson.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
It is Christmas time, kids.
It's Christmas time.
I just said that, Paul Young.
There's no need to be afraid.
At Christmas time, let in light and banish shade. Oh, I love this song. Isn't it crazy that this song is a hit and that we sing it at Christmas? And it's based on a famine in Ethiopia, because that's what we do. Talk about, like, guilt. So here's the thing. Here's how Band-Aid came about, right? So you have Bob Geldof, who was at the time, he was a rock star and he was big in his day, but the Boomtown Rats were struggling and things weren't really going great for Bob. And he was sitting home one night and he was kind of feeling sorry for himself, and he saw a report about what was taking place in Ethiopia. And he said to himself, and it was in late October, early November. He was looking at this. He says, I want to do something because these people are having real issues. My issues of not writing hits and stuff like that, that's silly and stupid. I want to do something real. But he wasn't like, when you're a big star and things are great for you, you can get anything you want. But he was struggling, but he's a force. So he called up his buddy, Mitch Ure, who at the time was everything he touched went to gold. He was the lead singer of a band called Ultravox and many other things. They said, hey, we want to do something. Did you see this thing? He said, no, but, if you want to do something. So they kind of put something together really quickly. He goes, now we need stars. And he went out and he started getting everybody possibly could. Who would? Everybody who possibly could, he could get. He confronted them everywhere. On the phone, he went to their place. He did everything he possibly could to get everybody there. And he did. He gathered a bunch of stars. And lo and behold, in a 24-hour period, in a place that was really cool, right? This really amazing studio that Bob Marley actually he actually had like an apartment there. They gave him 24 hours and they produced it all, right? So they produced this entire thing, got everybody sing. Everybody sang, and they used different parts and they filmed. That's what the video is, just a documentary of the whole thing. And it was great. And in fact, they Boy George was supposed to be there. They called Boy, who was in New York, and they said, Bob says, where are you? And he says, I'm in New York. He says, you're supposed to be here. He goes, is that today? He's like, yes, it's today. He's like, oh, well, he's like, there's a Concorde leaving in 2 hours. Be on it. Be here. And then Boy said he fell back asleep, got another call, made the last Concorde, got there, and it all went as planned. But then the real stuff happened. They had Live Aid and the whole 9 yards. They raised about $100 million for family relief in Africa. Jump ahead all these years, whatever happened to all that money? Well, never went to where it was supposed to go. And it wasn't Bob Geldof's fault or anybody else's. But the reality is it wasn't just the drought. Ethiopia has lots of droughts. Been going on for centuries. This one was bad, but Bob Geldof was warned on numerous occasions that the dictator, Mengistu, is going to take your money and he's going to blow it on everything. He was in battle with all kinds of groups, and Bob essentially was warned on numerous occasions. Don't give this guy any money. Don't give this guy any money. Don't give this guy any money. What did he do? Gave him money. What did he do? He bought weapons from Russia and crushed the opposition. It saved as many people from famine, but at the same time, it caused as many deaths. Not that it wasn't a bad thing to do, because it was a great thing. And we still sing it. Every one of you, the minute you hear doom, doom, we all start laughing. We're like, oh, my God, it's Christmas time. He was mad for years because people come out and said, hey, what happened to the money? And they would tell him, you knew what was going on. You were warned, but he ignores it. And I don't think it was a bad thing. I think what he did was a great thing. But the reality is sometimes things don't go as well as we planned. They said because of this, and the resettling and the merciless killings caused anywhere between 100,000 plus deaths. If you've been to Ethiopia now, boom. It's a beautiful place. They've had their famines come and go. One of the things they talked about, though, is after they got the money, they went from the poorest nation in Africa to the most well-armed military in Africa. It was an ugly situation. But I still love that song, and every time it comes on, it makes me smile. And if you ever watch the video of it, think about how many years ago. It's 1984. And if you watch the video of the making of it, you could see Boy George actually out George Michael in it. They said back in the day, that's what George loved to do. He loved to out all the other rock stars. Even though because he said he thought everybody was gay. He was a pop star. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. I will tell you, kids, it's our last show of the year. Thank each and every one of you. 2019 is behind us. 2020 is straight ahead. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to goof around. I want you guys to have a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah. Enjoy your Festivus, Kwanzaa. Whether you celebrate anything or don't celebrate anything, we got a lot of stuff to get to, and it is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be with you every step of the way. Follow along at Chad Benson Show, ChadBenson. You can always text me, 323-538-2423. Have a good holiday season and Christmas. As always, night-night, Jack.
You're listening to the best of Chad Benson.
This is the Chad Benson Show.